respecting evil people. What is the correct way to respond to these individuals? Well, you know, I'm pretty sure that, people have asked themselves this question. What's the correct way to respond to such individuals, that carry this clout, that have privileges, that are privileged? What is the correct way to respond? And I think that the correct way to respond is to be humble about it, to acknowledge what really is happening, you know, and to look the other, not to look the other way, but to look down, to you know, what can you say? What can you say to people that kill? What do you have to say? Like, what can I possibly have to say to somebody that I acknowledge that has a certain authority over me, a group of people, that are, acting, ignorant? What do I have to say to a group of people that dedicate themselves to killing, and are trying to deceive me? Nothing. I don't have nothing to say. I don't have nothing to say. Like, I can't argue. I can't argue. Where the authority comes from. I can't argue. I can't argue none of that. And I'm pretty sure that there's people that have found themselves in this type of situation. You know, where they're like, you know, borderline, where you see the corruption, you know, whether you see the corruption, or and you're hearing it and you're living near it, but you maintain, but you say to yourself, I go to church and I do this, and I stay away from that as much as possible. If I don't do it, somebody else will do it. Isn't that what people say? And how do you respond to these evil people that kill? That's the question. How to respect these individuals? Because I mean, it's not much the respect. I guess you could say it's the respect. I always say, you know what, if I talk to a person that has killed, I'm not gonna respect them. I respect the people that he's killed. In other words, fear. This person, it's not much. You say it's an ignorant individual, but the act that the individual does, that dedicates himself to doing, is taboo, is evil. You don't want to be around it, and if you're around it, don't, if you have to, like, for example, when I was in prison, if I had to be there in prison because the government had me there, if I had to be there, I was going to try my best to stay away from everybody. And so, for every situation, for every negative situation, there's a correct way to respond, a correct manner to respond, you know, and you just need to think about it. What is the correct manner? What is the correct way to respond to these individuals that are clearly, like, they have, for some reason or another, have authority inside a city, that, how would you say it, that for some reason seem to be following you? Like, for example, me, there's some there's some drug dealers that, in the city where I'm from, where they'll go to jail for a couple of months, but for some reason they get out, and they're there, and they don't dedicate themselves to doing anything else, and they've done it for vast amount of time. And if I go back, most likely they're gonna be there, you know. While meanwhile, the sheriffs and the police departments and they're circulating. The judges and these people are there, you know. voting the next judge, you know, doing what they do. And so it's like, how do you react to such a situation, to corruption, to people, to evil people that have authority? Like, where does your authority come from? Why is it that you're able to do what you do? I've never been in a restaurant